Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do we have anybody new here, Brian? Do we need any introductions? We're good there?
Adele Gravitz from Shelburne is joining us. I'm not sure if she's been at a TAC meeting yet, but she's a Shelburne representative, so she'll be logging on in a second. I did have an orientation with her at the end of last week. Got her up to speed on TAC responsibilities and roles. So she's looking forward to joining us.
Okay, great. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Christine, do you want to speak to that?
Sorry, muted. I think it's pretty clear what these are. I don't have it just in front of me right now. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. We have the draft minutes of March 2nd, 2022. Are there any questions, corrections, deletions on the draft minutes?
The only thing that I had noticed, and I think it might have been you, Dennis, but I'm not sure, pointing out that the transportation resiliency planning tool is really a road resiliency planning tool. And I wasn't sure whether you had actually asked for that information to get, or that comment to get back to VTrans. Was that you, Dennis?
Quite honestly, I don't remember. It might have been. Yeah, I think that if we can get that comment back to them, that's, they can do with it as they will, but at least it's a comment that we made on the plan.
Okay, any others? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the draft minutes of March 2nd of 2022?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Public comment period. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to anything that is not on the agenda? Okay, item 5, FY23 UPWP update. Marshall.
All right. Can folks see my screen here?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so good morning, everyone. I'm Marshall Distel, Senior Transportation Planner here with CCRPC. One of my roles involves coordinating the development of our Unified Planning Work Program. So today I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the FY23 process and give you a look at breakdown of funding by program area over the past handful of years. So here's just a quick refresher for anyone who may be unfamiliar with the UPWP. CCRPC develops this annually and sort of serves as our annual work plan for local and regional transportation projects and other planning activities. So all MPOs, metropolitan planning organizations, are required to put together UPWPs, essentially to detail how our FHWA and FTA planning funds are going to be allocated. So, CCRPC's UPWP really outlines all of our programs and projects and identifies the transportation, land use, water quality, and other planning activities that we work on annually with our municipalities and our partner organizations. So we have a UPWP committee made up of representatives from our board. You can see them on the right there. The board, the TAC, the PAC, QUAC, VTrans, FHWA, and GMT, and they convene annually to review both our municipal and partner funding requests. And after the committee reviews the projects, we develop a draft UPWP. We present it here to the TAC, the QUAC, and then bring it to the executive committee, and then finally bring it to the board for final adoption each May. So here's a look at our UPWP funding that's been allocated from FY19 through FY23 by project category. So just to be clear, these funds in these tables are only representative of consultant funding that we've dedicated towards transportation related projects in each of these fiscal years. So things like land use projects, our CCRBC staff time, and other non-transportation related funding that is in each of our annual budgets, those would not be included in these tables. And these tables also don't include adjustments made during the mid-year. So for example, we added a few projects into the budget for this FY22 mid-year, which are not showing up in these tables. So just to keep things consistent, these figures shown here are representative of what's been approved by the UPWP committee. I'll also note that see that the little asterisk there at the bottom, 400,000+ that we pass through to GMT each year for transit planning is not included in these tables. So these, I've divided our work program into 6 categories. Roadway includes scoping and corridor studies, projects where the primary focus is on vehicles. So, projects like the I-89 study would be in here, along with intersection studies, traffic calming projects, and other parking related studies. Bike ped is fairly self-explanatory, just for projects around bike ped planning. Water quality would include things like phosphorus control plans, MRGP projects, and stormwater inventories. TDM is transportation demand management, and that's where I put a lot of our partner requests through from CATMA, CarShare, UVM. Conversely, I put Local Motion. They're one of our partners. I put them in the bike ped category. Energy has traditionally just been for our work conducted by VEIC. There are some other projects in here as well. I think like the South Burlington Climate Action Plan in FY22. And lastly, the other category includes projects related to everything from transportation impact fee work, public opinion surveying, generic technical assistance. So for example, this coming year, projects like Plan BTV New North End, Richmond Official Map, and Burlington's Vision Zero Action Plan would be some examples that I put in the other category. There are a few others in there as well. So FY19 through FY20, you can see we allocated about $1.25 million for consultant funded transportation projects, and this increased to 1.4 million in FY21, and then 1.5 million in 22, and now we're at 1.8 million in FY23. So there's been a pretty significant increase in federal funding that's pretty visible here, especially in FY23. So here's just sort of a visual representation of our funding allocation since FY19. You can you can really see the increase in program funding that we've experienced. Funding for TDM in the gray, bike ped in the green has grown pretty significantly from previous years. Water quality in the blue there has fluctuated a bit, and funding for traditional intersection and corridor studies is making up significantly less share of our available funding. I add a disclaimer in here every year that these categories are somewhat imperfect. Some of the projects classified under roadway have had, fairly substantial bike ped elements, and, with our intersection studies, corridor studies, all those have some bike ped elements as well. So just sort of keep that in mind as you're looking at these. So here's just another way to look at the funding history as a bar graph. You can see, bike ped related funding has increased every year since FY19. There's a jump in TDM funding, and that can be linked, directly to the increase in partner organization requests. And let's see, you can see we didn't really receive any energy specific UPWP requests this year from VEIC, although we do have energy initiatives being led in-house by our new energy project manager. Here is another chart just sort of displaying history of awarded funds by municipality. So, we've seen big increases from Burlington, Essex, South Burlington, Winooski this year. It's good to see so many municipalities taking advantage of these MPO dollars, pretty wide array. I think there's still local match constraints that have been somewhat of a barrier for the smaller towns, but we've only had a few that have not requested funds for transportation related projects since FY19. Here's another look at the funding requests by partner organizations. With more available funding this year, we're happy to see that CATMA and Locomotion were able to take advantage of this. CarShare Vermont has also been able to take on some additional funding requests over the past few years as well. And here is just a breakdown of funding by regional, municipal, and partner projects. The direct municipal funding is projected to jump up pretty significantly this year. Partner organization funding is also, at the highest level we've seen since FY19. On the other hand, you notice in the blue, the regional project funding is down, and that's because we are wrapping up some of our bigger studies like the I-89 project. Any questions on any of these charts or graphics? If not, we will, I'll stop sharing my screen here. How do I do this? There we go. So we will be back actually in May to, with a formal memo sort of asking the TAC to formally approve the UPWP to advance it along to the executive committee and board. So again, any other questions on this?
Marshall, how many retained consultants are we carrying now?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. Eleni, do you have ballpark estimate?
I can find that number. So I'm looking right now, but we have we have different categories. So we have consultants under technical assistance scoping, maybe 4 or 5. We have under corridors and, the bigger studies, probably 3 on that. We have water quality, I think it's 5. Maybe Chris can correct me on that. We also have public transit this year. We have 2 consultants, and we have, I'm missing something. What am I missing? So scoping,
Scoping, bike ped, corridor,
Bike ped.
water quality. Yep.
bike ped. So bike ped, we probably have 4 consultants. So you can see, so we're just breaking them into categories, but we have probably 20 plus 25 consultants on pre-qualified consultants. So
Thank you.
sure. And also, I would like to add to what Marshall said that we're going to be sending you the draft UPW UP2. So please reach out if you have any questions before the meeting in May.
Okay, thank you, Marshall and
Looks like Dennis has a question.
Dennis.
Yeah, I think Eleni answered that, and that is, we've submitted a fair number of requests on the UPWP, and we want to get started on some of those projects. So if they're not going to be funded, that's more important to us actually in some respects than if they are funded, because we'll go to other sources to get those projects started if they aren't going to be in the UPWP. So the sooner we get that, the better we can act on where we're going to go. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the VPSP2 bridges. Christine Ford.
Yes, it's me again. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm gonna also just put do you see this screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Yes.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Sorry to do this to you, always with the screens, we can't help ourselves. So today we're just continuing the conversation that we started last month, and we're gonna finish next month. So we're drawing this out for you guys. So this is year 2 of the VPSP2. We're looking at state and town highway bridges. There was a pretty detailed item in your packet. Why am I not advancing? Oh, now I am advancing. So what we're just really going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the list of bridges, excuse me, that I sent you in your packet. We're going to get comments on those bridges, and we're going to talk a little bit about potential bridges to be added as regionally driven projects. So remember now, one change with the VPSP2 is we have the opportunity to add regionally driven projects. So projects that the RPCs want to add to the Transportation Capital Program. This is our opportunity or your opportunity to add projects that are important to your municipality into the capital program. So the regionally driven projects will be scored using this VPSP2 workbook, and the scores will be compared, the asset driven, the regionally driven, to come up with the new projects to be added to the Transportation Capital Program. Asset driven, I should have started to say that those come out of these established asset management programs that VTrans has. And the bridge program is pretty complicated. It has a number of factors, the stream conditions, the bridge conditions, the traffic volumes, more things than I can calculate. And I would add here that for state highway bridges, they're owned by the state and the match is provided by the state. For town highway bridges, there is a match required. That's 5 to 10%. And so any projects that are accepted into the capital program, there would be an expectation that that match would be provided. So just a reminder that the purpose of VPSP2 is to develop a system that maximizes transportation value. And the workbook is meant as a way to calculate transportation value. And that's calculated looking at safety, asset condition, mobility and connectivity, excuse me, economic access, health access, environment. Regional is kind of a weird term that just means some whether it conforms to a regional plan to kind of get some factors for the local government, and then resilience. I think I said all of them, I might not have, but you can read them here. Okay, so let's kind of dive into the projects that are on the list. Should have gotten some water, sorry. On the list that I sent you. So the first grouping on this table is projects that are in the current capital program. So these are projects that are in process right now. The Huntington Bridge, this is the only bridge that has a serious condition rating on the superstructure. And that's on Camel's Hump Road, and that's going to be constructed this year, I believe. Construction is going to begin. And the second one is a bridge on Brown's Trace in Jericho, and this project is in scoping right now. So the next three bridges, these are state highway bridges that are on the VTrans's asset-driven list. So it's important to note that what comes out of this asset-driven list is just the results of their calculation. So there's not a person saying this is an important project. So that's where we are right now, is we need to determine, okay, our asset management software says these are important projects, but are they really? Do we really want these to happen? And so that's what we're looking to do now, is to provide those comments. So these bridges, there's one on Route 15 in Underhill, and I can show you a map of the locations if anybody's really interested in seeing it. This is just north of the Underhill Flats area. The second one is the 116 bridge over I-89, which would be a pretty significant project. And the other one is a bridge on 116 in Heinsberg. This is just south of Hollow Road, over Hollow Brook. And so these are VTrans owned. I don't know if people have comments on these. There would be no local match required. I mean, I'll pause for a moment and say, does anybody have any comments on these three state highway bridges? Jonathan.
Yeah, just general, is sidewalk condition included as part of the deck rating? I know probably the Winooski River Bridge is I think the only one on this list with sidewalks, but I'm just curious.
I don't believe so, no. But any improvement project would improve that as well.
Right, so if a town wanted to fund a sidewalk reconstruction on a bridge, would they do it separately, or it just wouldn't factor into the rating in this case?
It wouldn't factor into the rating. It likely wouldn't drive a bridge rehab project, if that's what you're asking.
Right, okay, yeah.
Would any rehab project that doesn't currently have a sidewalk, would that be eligible to be added?
Yes. I should not answer so quickly to say yes. Certainly if a bridge were rehabbed, that would be one of the things that would be looked at. And certainly if there's a sidewalk already on the bridge, that would definitely be included in the bridge project. If you're talking about adding a sidewalk, cantilevering a sidewalk, various things like that is more complicated. If it was complete reconstruction, it would most likely be included. If it was a rehab, it would just depend on the situation. Okay. So the next list are the asset-driven potential projects. So these are bridges that will be scored by VTrans as part of the VPSP2. And we will be looking for the municipalities just kind of to comment on whether they want these projects whether they want these projects to advance, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I mean, we'd like to have that comment because there is a match that's required for most of these. And I don't know if I should go through these one by one, if you just want to open it up, if there's comments on any of these. I would note that the second to the last one, the Charlotte Lake Road, that's a covered bridge that would have the construction paid at 100% because it's a historic covered bridge. The rating system, we've highlighted what's fair. They're not in, nothing's in serious condition. They're all in somewhat fair condition. Does anyone want to weigh in on any comments here? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Christine, does it make sense for us? Oh. Are you looking for us to approve this today, or Or
Well,
does it make
really-
more sense for individual towns to get back to you? I just sent you feedback from Huntington on swapping two of our bridge orders.
Yeah, so we're really just looking for comments. We're not looking for an approval. These bridges are on an asset-driven list. They will be scored. You know, it doesn't lock you into any project, but I think mostly what I'm looking for a little bit more is if a town said, no, that's a project that we are not interested in pursuing. I mean, that's a little bit more of what I'm looking for. We will be looking at scores next month, and next month we will be approving the scores and having them sent to VTrans. So that's the point that we're really just getting comments right now. I'm going to go to the next slide and you can continue to think about this. So the other thing, as we talked about before, is regionally driven projects, right? So any projects that a town has that they think should be on this list should be added to the capital program for rehab or replacement. So to help that conversation, in your board packet, you had a list of all the town highway bridges. This top part of this list are just the bridges that have one of the three, the deck, the superstructure, or the substructure rating as fair. Nothing in the county is worse than fair. And so these are projects from this list that we could potentially draw from to add to the regionally driven list or a different project. The two that are on the bottom are two that we have heard from towns that they would like to see added. One is a bridge in Williston on Industrial Avenue. And the second one is the one-lane railroad bridge in Burlington on Queen City Park Road in the south end of Burlington. And I think for this list, we would want the municipality to confirm that they want a bridge added as a regionally driven. I hope I'm explaining that somewhat well. I see Elaine's on, her camera's on, so if I'm explaining something very poorly, you can jump in. But so I'm opening it up for comments on the previous list, this list, any other bridges of concern. I haven't listed state highway bridges, but those can also be mentioned. Adele?
I just wanted to confirm, since I'm new to the group, in terms of the Shelburne project, this would have a required match.
It would have a required match.
Okay, so I'm sure Lee's on top of this, but I will check in with him and just see where this is in the thinking.
Yeah, and it's important. You know, it's a little bit of an odd concept. Whether or not it would be selected is very much an unknown. It could potentially be, and if it did, it could be, you know, 1 to 7 years out. So it's not like you have to come up with the money right away, or you have to even commit to the money. It's just this kind of idea of, yeah, we know a project is needed, and if it should possibly come up, we would come up with the money.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very unknown. I would not expect any more than, you know, 1 or 2 of these to be added.
And then if it's something they wanted badly, is that something to advocate for? I mean, I don't know what the process is to make this decision ultimately, but I can also ask you this offline. You know,
it goes to the scoring. What we're doing is scoring. So that's what's really gonna matter right now is the scoring. I think this project, the Bay Road project, I have talked to Lee a couple of times about that, and I think that is a project that Shelburne is interested in. I should note is on the previous list, I think, that the Main Street Bridge between Burlington and Winooski is on this list. So that's a major project. Jonathan?
Yeah, just so the Queen City Park Road bridge is, you know, I think that's sort of on this list for reasons of like PED connectivity primarily. is that, you know, is bike ped connectivity reflected in the scoring at all through maybe like transportation value, or how does that factor into the selection process?
There is a multimodal component to the VPSP2, so that would be a factor, yes.
Okay, so it's not just the deck rating superstructure, what we're seeing here that's factored in. Got it. Okay.
Right, VPSP2 is not based, so what you're looking at here is just a table showing some things that might be of interest to people. These items are not part of the VPSP2. VPSP2 is being scored on kind of on a variety of other factors, and bike ped connectivity is definitely one of them.
Thanks.
Norm, yes. Oh, sorry, Barbara. Norm first, then Barbara.
Yeah, so the Queen City Bridge, that's a kind of a joint venture between Burlington and South Burlington. And we've had some trouble with vehicles of late having accidents on that bridge, some of which are unavoidable when you have people under the influence, but they had done damage to the railing system on that. And of course, it's deficient as it relates to pedestrians and cyclists. And it's also a one-lane bridge on a fairly active industrial use. So, you know, we'd love to see something happen there, but obviously there's many priorities in the community, in the region. So, but it's been in our mind for quite a while.
Thank you. Barbara, then Amy.
Is there a reason why the channel rating is not included along with the deck rating, the superstructure and the substructure?
I didn't put it on this table. That's all.
So, because there are some fair bridges that have fair channel ratings. Or at least one in Huntington that's.
I can share that information with the group.
Okay.
I was just trying to not overload you with information, but yeah. And like I said, these ratings are not, these are just to help our conversation. They're not what determines the VPSP2 score.
Okay, thank you.
Amy?
So just because there's been a lot of questions about this information, I want to give a little bit more background on what this is. So this is information that comes from the inspection reports for each of these structures. And to get back to some of the earlier questions, the assessments do include an assessment. If there is a sidewalk on there, the sidewalk is part of what is inspected and does go into the analysis of determining deck rating and so on, and superstructure and substructure components. So just so folks understand, it's the whole bridge. All of the elements contained on the existing structure are taken into consideration in these ratings. And these come right from our bridge inspection report. So they're just looking at what's there now. And Christine's just simply providing it to you to show you some of the information. These reports are really quite extensive. And so they provide a lot of information and correct in that there's a lot of information on channel and the status of the waterway that goes through or under the structure. So just so folks know, this is just like a tiny little snapshot of a much bigger assessment of each of these. And this information for each and every one of these bridges is available on a public website. If you want to know more about the inspection report, it's accessible to you. So just wanted to provide a little bit bigger context so folks understood. You're just looking at a little tiny picture of data that I think Christine's trying to use to kind of help you guys in understanding sort of the concept of you have to create some sort of priority. And how do we do that? We probably should do that based on the existing condition of the asset. So just wanted to provide that context. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. That's very helpful. I'm trying to unshare. You are screen sharing. I'm going to unshare. So if there's other comments and And I may be reaching out to other towns that I didn't hear from today, just to explain this process. Any other comments, questions, concerns, issues? Okay. Oh, Kurt, yes.
Hi, Christine. Just a comment on Bridge 8. We did some work on that a couple years ago to upgrade the status of that bridge. It was fairly extensive. It was a good couple $100,000 worth of repair work. So I think you're showing it in a state of condition that was prior to that repair.
Okay.
And on Bridge 7, we should talk. For us, it's a situation of timing. We are working on having a structures design grant worked on, and whether we go that path or through the town program is a function of timing. So we should talk about that.
Okay, and that's another good point, is that structures grants, if there's not as extensive repairs, are often potentially a better option for towns than going for the federally funded rehab project, which is pretty extensive. And I'm just gonna finish and show you guys this share. This is what, do you see a map? Yes.
Yes.
So this is the bridge. This is the bridge inspection map that Amy was talking about. The website, I get to it by just typing V-Transparency, and this massive circles are all the bridges in the county. And if you click on any of them, you get the bridge name, some information, and you can click on the latest inspection report, and this is what you get. And these are what the inspection reports look like for anyone who's not familiar. So if you want to look any of these up, if you want to look at your bridges and see what condition they're in, this is how you would do it. Okay, thank you.
Christine, do you want to drop that URL into the chat, and then I can copy it and I'll put it in the notes?
Yes.
Great, thank you, Christine. Next item on the agenda is a water quality update. Chris Dubin.
Hey everyone, real quick update. Just wanted to let everyone know that all MS4 municipalities data updates have been uploaded to the DEC portal ahead of the April 1st deadline. Our current dashboard, I'll drop that link in the chat as well, has also been updated to reflect those changes. So, and that mainly includes work that municipalities have upgraded, whether it's outlets or specific roadway segments as they pertain to the MRGP. Additionally, just wanted to let everyone know that the FY22 grants and aid program is active, and we're looking to meet with municipalities that are participating and get the ball rolling on site selection. So please reach out to me. I'll probably be reaching out to you all or your water quality contact as well, but it'd be good to keep that in mind as spring work season begins. Lastly, non-water quality related, we're starting on a project in Winooski with regards to sort of an ADA transition plan, or the beginnings of it. And I wanted to reach out or get a sense of if any municipalities have sort of done any of that type of work on their own, more specifically related to the data collection aspects of it. So I can send a follow-up email, but if there's any, public works teams that have a bit of experience there, I'm hoping to maybe not reinvent the wheel when it comes to building a data collection process or platform. So I'll leave it at that. So thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Moving along, any questions on the status of projects and subcommittee reports? Questions on the CCRPC board meeting report? Okay, any chairman's, members' items. I have nothing, any items from any of the members beyond what's here, or any discussion of what's included on the agenda?
I have an item, Brian.
Go ahead, Christine.
So I wanted to let you guys know that we are potentially looking at a major tip amendment for the Champlain Parkway project. So the bids were received for the project, and we anticipate having to add money to the tip. Because of the timing, I think what we're looking at now is the potential for the board to warn a public hearing at their April meeting, for a public hearing in May. So under typical procedures, we would have presented that information to you today. We don't have that available right now. They're still reviewing bids. So if it unfolds this way, we would present the amendment to you in May. That will still be before the approval and the public hearing that would happen at the May board meeting. So if anyone has objections to us doing this way, please let us know, but this is our proposal.
Christine, can you just give everyone just a quick blurb of what that project is?
That project is the continuation of 189 across Shelburne Road. I see Nicole sort of smiling and turning away. And then continuing, essentially joining with Pine Street and coming into downtown Burlington. So it's been in progress for a long time. It finally has gone to bid, and Burlington is reviewing the bids right now.
So Christine, I can explain a little further if you'd like.
Sure. Norm
So-
Baldwin, Public Works Director. Oh, sorry. Chief Engineer, is that your title?
City engineer. So,
City Engineer from Burlington.
so the parkway itself has been broken out into two bids. One is phase one, which is Home Avenue to Kilburn Street. And then phase two would be a subsequent bid for the connections that make all the connections to make it operable from Home Avenue to 189, but also the other piece or portion from Kilburn to Main Street. So in this bid process, obviously the bids came in substantially higher than we anticipated. And I think other bids have been similar nature have been coming in high. So we are in the process of reviewing those bids and working with our federal and state partners about what their position will be in terms of this being advanced forward. So it's a bit premature for us to tell you anything now at this stage until Federal Highway in the state of Vermont really give us some direction as to where they stand with this bid. So, but in fairness to collectively all of you, we wanted to make sure that you were aware of those changes coming up. We are going to go to our council on April 11th, and we'll be communicating to them that what we know as disposition of the project. We would anticipate we get some answers from VTrans and Federal Highway probably by shortly before our meeting with council.
Thanks, Norm. Okay, anything else? I noticed on the members item, the last bullet, there's a kind of a question there about continuing these meetings as virtual only. Anybody have any comments or feelings about that?
I really appreciate having these virtual. I think that it cuts down on a lot of single occupant vehicles heading into Winooski.
It's for the next from April.
Yeah, while it's much less personal, my observation has been, and today is a perfect example, these meetings seem to go much more quickly when we're doing it virtually.
And I think more people are able to participate.
Agreed. So limited sample size, but that sounds like there's general support for continuing these meetings virtually, at least for now.
I think there are a couple hands up.
Yes.
Brian.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to say Brian, Dennis,
sorry.
and Ashley.
Yeah, Dennis?
Yeah, this is actually, I'll take my hand down before I forget. This is actually in response to the earlier discussion on Burlington and the project costs. We're starting to see the same thing, and so I think that we may want to anticipate that this is going to be something going forward on the tip for the next 6 months to a year. I think projects that are out there, they're coming in significantly higher than what engineers' estimates are, and we're going to have to live with that for probably the next year until things kind of shake out. But it is what it is, and this is, I think, just the first of many.
Yeah, we're working on some pretty significant projects in Colchester, and we have not put anything out to bid yet, but the engineers that we're working with are reporting that they're seeing projects come in, 6 to 7% higher than what they would have expected them to be based on their current methodology of projecting project costs. Ashley, you have a question?
And just a comment, those first two bullets under item number 10, the town highway structures and class 2 grant, along with the mud season damage to gravel roads, those contacts are for District 8. The only Chittenden County town in District 8 is Westford, so those contacts should be myself. So any questions on the town highway structures class 2 or a status update with the mud season should be directed towards me.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Andrea?
Yes, Andrea.
Yeah, this is just a general comment that this time of year is spring and on rainy nights. Just letting us all be aware of the amphibian movements that are happening right now, and in thinking about maybe some future roadway projects of ways of mitigating the kind of really amazing decimation of these amphibians. I've just noticed over the years on rainy nights coming back how much fewer and fewer amphibians we're seeing. And if there's anything that we can do as public works or highway or people to think about that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Bruce. Second.
Sandy?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care. See you next time.
Great. Thank you all. Thanks, Brian.
Everybody.